Have any of you done meditation? Probably not, or probably have. Transcendental meditation, Tibetan meditation, the Hindu meditation, the Buddhist meditation, the Zen meditation. Probably you have played with all those, seriously or flippantly. All those, as far as one can understand, and speaker has discussed this question with all the scholars of all the various circuses, and their whole concept is that thought must be controlled. That one must have discipline. One must subjugate one's own feeling to something other than what is. Through awareness, through control, through constant alertness. You know all this, don't you? And repeat certain mantras, slogans. You can repeat Amen or Coca-Cola or what you like. No, don't laugh. They're all similar. So what we are saying is, meditation has been accepted to be all this. Now, if you want to find out what is meditation, not just accept what somebody says, if you want to find out, certain obvious things are necessary. There must be no authority. Because then you depend on that. Right? Obviously. Therefore, you are struggling. You are imitating, conforming. And one must understand the nature of control. Who is the controller? You understand? You understand this? I wonder if you understand all this. No? Are you interested in all this? Because it's your life, not my life. It's your everyday life we are talking about. What is involved in it? Whether one can be free of all this chaos, confusion and misery. And this is the inquiry. You are inquiring, not me inquiring, you accepting. We are together inquiring, we are together taking the journey. So first, as we said, no authority, which means cease to be second-hand. You understand? We're all second-hand people. Because second-hand being tradition. We never say, look, I put away all that, let me look. The next question is control. From childhood we are trained. educated to control, to suppress, or the other extreme, which is what is happening now. Do what you like. Do your thing, which is the opposite of the other. So one must understand the whole movement of control. Is there a way of living? Please listen to this. Is there a way of living without any form of control? Which doesn't mean doing what you like. Either permissiveness or the other, indulgence. Is there a way of living? Please inquire this. Perhaps this is something new to you, in which not a shadow of control. So to find that out, one has to ask, who is the controller? Right? We are inquiring into what is meditation. Because perhaps if one can understand the nature of meditation, not the meaning of the word. Meaning of the word is very simple, to ponder, to think over, to inquire, and so on and so on. But apart from the word, to find out what is meditation. It may, in this inquiry, bring about a life which is extraordinarily sane, extraordinarily rational, and may be able to find out something that is nameless, timeless. We are leading to that. So who is the controller? Who says, I must control my feelings, or I must allow my feelings to flow, and so on. Who is that entity that says, I must control? You understand? Control and the controlled. The controller and the thing to be controlled. So there are division. Who is this controller? Is it not still the movement of thought? Thought has said, please follow this. Thought has said, I have experienced this, I have learned this, all the rest of it, which is the past. So the past is the controller, right? And that which is happening now has to be controlled by the controller, right? You understand? Are you following all this? Or are you just going to sleep? Actually doing it, sir, I'm not talking for my benefit, right? I've talked for 52 years, basta for me. I'm not interested in talking. But I'm interested to find out if you can also discover the same thing. So that your own life will be totally different, transformed, so that you have no problems, no complexities, no strife, longings, all the rest of it. That's the reason the speaker is talking. Not for his own gratification, not for his own enjoyment, not for his own fulfillment, all that nonsense. So the controller is the result of thought based upon knowledge, which is the past, and that thought says, I must control that which is happening now, right? The actual. The actual is being, say for example, envy or jealousy, which you all know. And thought says, I must control, I must analyze, I must suppress it or fulfill it. So there is a division, right? The division created by thought. Are you following? So, in this there is deception, right? The deception lies in the idea the controller is different from that which is to be controlled. Both are created by thought, right? So the controller is the controlled. I wonder if you see this, right? So that there is no, if you really understand this, go into this very seriously for yourself, you will see that controller is unnecessary. Only observation is necessary. You understand? When you observe, there is no controller. Or the control, just observing. Observing your envy, say for example, envy, observe it. Without naming it, without denying it or accepting it, just to see this sensation, this reaction which arises, which has been called envy, and to look at it without the word. You're following all this? Then, when there is no word, because the word represents the past. You're following all this? And when you use the word envy, it strengthens the past. Right? Right? So there is a possibility of living without any sense of control. I am saying this not after theory, but actually the speaker says what he has done, not what he invents. That there is a life without any sense of control. And therefore no sense of conflict, no sense of division. That can only come into being when there is only pure observation. Got it? Do it and you will see. Do it. Test it out. When there is no conflict whatsoever, what takes place in the mind? You understand? Conflict implies movement, right? Movement is time. Right? Time being from here to there, both physically and psychologically. That is, the movement from the center to another center, or the movement from the periphery to another. You follow? There's this constant movement in all of us. Now, if you observe this movement very carefully, and as you observe what takes place in the mind, you're following all this? First, you have understood no authority. the nature of thought being limited, and knowledge, which is stored up in the brain as memory, and that memory acting as thought in action. So knowledge is always part of ignorance, right? We went into that. So what takes place in the mind? You understand, the mind, as we've gone into it, is not only the capacity to think clearly, objectively, impersonally, and the things that thought has created, technologically is all the rest of it in the world, and thought has also created all the inward problems, right? When one observes all this, the mind has the capacity to act not from thought, but from pure observation. You get this? I want to understand. Please, sirs, all this is logical, is nothing sectarian, nothing Eastern philosophy, none of that. Though the speaker is born in that country called India, he's not an Indian. He's got a passport, that's all. So he's not involved in exotic, romantic nonsense or some strange philosophy. We are only examining what is actually taking place. And to observe what is actually taking place, one must look without the response of the past shaping it. From that pure observation, there is action. That is intelligence. And that is also the extraordinary thing called love and compassion. So the mind has this quality of intelligence, and naturally with that intelligence goes compassion, love. Love is not mere sex. For God's sake, brush all that. Love is something other than mere sensation. Totally unrelated to our demands and fulfillments and all the rest of it. So the mind now has this quality, this stability. It's like a rock in the midst of a stream, in the midst of a river, immovable, everything, you follow? So such a mind, because it's understood relationship with each other, we went into that. Relationship is not based on image. And say, you have an image about me and I have an image about her. And our relationship is that, from image to image. You know all this, don't you? And therefore there is no actual relationship. There may be the relationship of touch, of the senses, but that's not actual, deep, profound relationship with another. If there is not that profound relationship, there is conflict. And out of that conflict, we create this society, which is utterly immoral, violent, murderous. So the mind is now, has this quality of great stability. And that which is stable is silent. Right? Are you following all this? Have you gone into, you understand, to be absolutely clear, to have clarity which can then examine any problem. That clarity is stability. You understand? It's only the mind that's confused, contradictory, broken up, that's unstable, neurotic, seeking, striving, struggling. So we've come to a point where the mind is totally clear and therefore completely immovable. You understand? Immovable, not the sense of a mountain, but immovable in the sense that it is so completely, has no problem, you've got all that. Therefore it's extraordinarily stable and therefore pliable. Right? Now, such a mind is quiet. And you need to have a mind that's absolutely silent, absolutely, not relatively. There is the silence when you go of an evening in the woods. There is great silence. All the birds have gone to bed. The wind, the whisper of the leaves have ended. There is great stillness. There is the outward stillness. And people observe that stillness and say, I must have that stillness, and therefore depend on the stillness of being alone. You understand? Being in a solitude. That's not stillness. And there is the stillness created by thought, which is, thought says, I must be still. I must be quiet. I mustn't chatter. And gradually it produces a stillness. But that's not it, because it's the result of thought operating on noise. Right? So we are talking of a stillness which is not dependent on anything. And it is only that quality of stillness, that absolute silence of the mind, that can see that which is eternal, timeless, nameless. This is meditation.